On today's episode of Blending Bourbon, Dixon Dedman and myself, David Mark Young, will take a look at the future and what lies ahead for 2XO and Golden Sheaf.
Blending Bourbon is the podcast that takes you beyond the barrel and behind the scenes of the whiskey industry with master blenders Dixon Dedman and David Mark Young.
Welcome back. Another episode of Blending Bourbon podcast. Kind of look under the tent, what it takes to launch a brand and keep a brand going. This podcast sponsored by Golden Sheaf, always joined by the always glamorous, well put together David Mark Young, proprietor, master blender of Golden Sheaf. My name is Dixon Dedman of 2XO Whiskey. It feels good to be back home for a short amount of time. David, how in the world are you?
I'm so good, Dixon. Thanks for the amazing introduction, as always. I appreciate that. I feel like I'm like empty-handed at Christmas when you introduce me. Like, gosh, how do I top that off? This is Dixon Dedman introducing me.
It's a gift. It's a gift.
It is, for sure. Absolutely. We should do a podcast about introductions alone. I think we could really do something there. I'm great. Thanks for asking, and welcome home. It's good to see you home. I know you're on the road a lot these days, launching 2XO, which has launched here in Omaha, Nebraska, and congratulations again, really knocking it out of the park. A lot of big fans here in Omaha. The stuff flies off the shelf. The juice is phenomenal. So as always, par for the course. Dixon done a fabulous job.
Well, thank you. I mean, it's I don't know. We've talked about it. It's there. You can almost break it into stages, right? Like there's the development of the liquid stage. There's the blending product development stage. There's the entire bottling production stage, and then there's the you go to market stage, and I would say that some I prefer over others, but it's just as soon as you kind of, and that's kind of where I am. I'm kind of on the downside of the launch in market portion of it, when all I'm really thinking about is how I need to be developing the next, what's coming next. And
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, you almost, not that I don't, I love it. I love getting out there. I love pouring it for people. I love sharing it. I love the feedback. I love, discussing it. But there's in the back of my mind the whole time, I'm kind of like, I've what I really need to be, I've got to start getting, I don't know, starting the cycle all over again, I guess.
Rinse and repeat. Yeah, absolutely. So are you doing that now? Are you, I know you're at the go to market phase right now. So when you're at home, which is less time during the week, I feel like, then you're actually traveling and meeting folks out in the market, but are you able to spend any time on next steps?
Not exactly yet. I mean, I'm starting to develop kind of the the sample request, so that I can start looking at liquid and figuring out what we're, what that looks like and how we're going to start. I've always kind of been I want to do that final blend with those samples as close to the date that we're going to dump those barrels and put them in the bottle as possible. I want the freshest samples to work with. I don't feel comfortable bottling something that, that I tasted when it was 6 months, before. So
Yeah.
I've got travel through, kind of first week of December. And the plan is to get home from that travel and have, a couple, 100 barrel samples to, to start putting that together. But that's, it's just kind of like prepping for that and figuring that out and getting ready for that is interesting.
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean. So we had a crew today. Today was blending day. Had a bunch of the guys out and, we're throwing around some of these samples, but I'm looking at some of these samples. So we're doing a port finish on a product, and it's been in the barrel for a couple months, but the most recent sample was from about a month ago. So I can't help but not take serious the blending that we're doing now because I don't have the freshest sample from the barrel. So yeah, tomorrow we'll be down at the warehouse to pull from the barrels, sample, lock in a blend, and then possibly even get it in bottles later on this week.
I think that was kind of where we were going to go here. And I maybe stopped you. Maybe I should have, let you go last time, but I thought that would be like, one of the things I think is really cool about what you're doing is you're, I don't mean this in a bad way, but you're going out there a little bit. Like you're getting into that, really interesting, really innovative, really adventurous space. And, I want you to talk about, what, if you can, what these things are, what you're playing with, what you've liked and what you haven't liked of some of these, I don't know if you want to call them experiments, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
like you revitalized Golden Sheaf. Batch 1 was phenomenal. I only got to taste it like once, but I don't know if and then you do another bourbon, fantastic, a rye,
Thank you.
off the charts. And then as we talk, you're it's just cool. It's cool to see, how your progression, where your mind's going, where you're going with this thing. So,
yeah, it's, well, thank you. Thank you, by the way. I think we've been very fortunate. We've had a lot of really good feedback, and, I think we've embraced that. We know what we're doing, and we're demonstrating that. I know batch 1 was an award winner, had a lot of really great feedback, and so there's a lot of pressure with batch 2. Was that a one-hit wonder? And I think we've done really well with batch 2, and then the rye. Thanks for that. I know a really great video of us walking around Whiskey Fest, and you talking about your favorite rye at the Whiskey Festival. So pushing the envelope, I think that's innovative. This is a traditional industry. And so kind of pushing the envelope and not necessarily repeating what everybody's doing. We're definitely doing that. So it is an experiment. There's some controlled, science behind it, I suppose. We're not just, throwing stuff in a barrel and hoping it turns out. So there's a lot of, creativity, direction, but also knowledge and experience behind the scenes that's helping drive that. And so one of the things we're working on now is that I mentioned that port finish. We partnered with a local vineyard who's celebrating their 25th year anniversary, James Arthur Vineyards out here in Nebraska, Lincoln, Nebraska. To celebrate, they cracked open some 12-year-old port barrels, and we were fortunate enough to get a hold of those immediately after they dumped them, and filled one with bourbon, one with rye. They've been in the barrels for about 4 months now, which when we first started to go down this path, we went out and bought up every port finish whiskey we could find. Mm-hmm. And there's some really good ones out there. And
what are your favorites?
My favorite, there's Angel's Envy, right? They do a really good job. But Amador is one of my favorites. They do a number of different wine finishes. Midnight Winter's Dram. They do really good.
Did you have, I just had one. I was in Texas and these guys brought, but it was a white port finish,
I think that's called their grand finale, because I think they're actually going away from the port finish.
Well, it was like the 14th thing I had tasted that night, because everybody was like, here, I want you to try this. Here, have some of this, try it, which is great. But I thought it was exceptional. And are you playing with white port too, or a little bit of everything, or?
We've not received the white port barrels yet, but we have plans to, once we get a hold of those. We'll find out here real soon. I know they're dumping those. They had targeted next week to dump them. So we've got barrels ready to go to fill those up. So yeah, we're 4 months ago, we filled up red port barrels, and we had targeted somewhere around 3 months finishing time. And then we decided after 3 months, let's keep going. This is turning out so great. And it's either going to get better or it's not.
So that's a really interesting question. Can I
please do
sidebar you here? But I have I just try to soak up everything I can soak up. Right. And there have been, I remember one of the greats, like one of the greats, and there are many of them that talk about this. You put liquid, you watch this liquid develops, and it's a slow growth curve in terms of quality. But traditionally speaking, once it peaks and begins to decline, the descent is, far steeper than the ascent. So you get to a point, and then, once it goes, it goes.
Right.
So are you kind of in this mode of like, let's just, let's watch it, see it, taste it regularly? Or is it like, if 3 months is good, maybe 6 months will be great? Or because they're like the old school guys would say, when you are happy with it, get it out of the barrel. Like when it makes you happy, there is no reason to run the risk of it going, so, I mean, what are you kind of somewhere on the fence there kind of thing, or?
We were getting closer to the 3 month mark, and I was almost beginning to panic, thinking that, it's like, pull the bread out, it's going to burn type of thing. Let's get it out of the oven. But then I went back and again, I want to proceed with caution. I think all of the port finishes in particular that I've tasted are done really well. I think the port finish that we have is in a different class. And and it's changing, right? So we even tasted some today. So we were pulling them out, sampling, every 2 weeks or so. And the port was, okay, it's evolved, it's mellowing out, it's rounding out the dry fruit flavors. It's, as far as what we're envisioning for the profile, it's rapidly closing in on that compared to the bourbon. Well, they've sort of flip-flopped. Now the bourbon is primo. It's ready to come out of the barrel. So what we did today was we started to blend. We started to blend some more bourbon with that port finish bourbon to a couple different blends that we have to see if we could hone in on and accentuate those really favorable notes in a port finish. And then we kind of backed up and thought, gosh, maybe this might be just fantastic right out of the barrel at cask strength, so that's what we're trying to do, is create options and then kind of, narrow that in. But tomorrow will be more of a, definitely.
So I have some nerdy questions. Can I ask you some nerdy questions?
Yeah.
Are these, and if we have to cut this out, we can cut this out, but like, are these barrels, are they laying down or are they on their heads?
They are laying down. Yep.
And is this a relatively controlled climate? I mean, it's not like just an open kind of metal building, is it?
It's not a completely open. So you do get climate fluctuation in there. They're also at a little higher level on the racks. So we're, it's not constant temperature, 24/7. It's in a production environment. So it with our fluctuation in temperature here, it actually experiences that, not the extreme, ranging from, 100 to freezing, but it does regularly get a fluctuation in temperature.
So I was having this interesting conversation with another, really high profile guy. And we were talking about some different stuff, and my question to you is, are you familiar with like the tea bag effect?
Yeah.
Are you, if I'm you, one of the suggestions I would have for you is like tomorrow, before you pull that sample, get one of those barrels off that rack and just roll it 30 feet that way and roll it back 30 feet this way and circulate that liquid. Because if you're pulling from the bottom, for example, if that drill is, and so that's concentrated liquid from the port barrel, but it's not, because there's no significant, that you almost want to I agitate that barrel.
Yeah.
A little bit before you pull that sand. If maybe you've done that.
I do. Yeah. They've got, grass fed beef, hand fed, hand brushed. These are you've never heard.
I'm sorry, you lost me there. What the hell are you talking about?
I'm trying to make an analogy here. So there's these beef cows that they coddle and they brush their hair and they hand feed them grass every day. And
you just got so Nebraska on
it's supposed to be better.
That was so incredibly Nebraska right there. We were talking about whiskey and you went to beef. I just saying, whatever. Anyway,
same concept. So I go in there. I rock these barrels to sleep every night. Right. I sing to them. Yeah. No, I do. I go in there and I rock them on the pallet. We get them down. I rock the barrels. I have consulted on too many, I shouldn't say too many, but a lot of times when you're doing some sort of finish and stuff like that, but there's no agitation at all. So right.
You sometimes can pull either a really condensed sample or you don't get a true representation of what's in there because of that tea bag effect that,
right.
The closer it is to the tea bag, the stronger the tea, whatever is.
Yep. Yeah. I'll usually pull a sample. I'll pop the bung, pull a sample, take a look at the color, taste it, and then put it right back in the barrel. And then I'll rock it. I'll rock the barrel, slosh it around, cover, all of the space on the inside. And cause there was sediment when they dump these port barrels. So we wanted to make sure that, it'll be interesting so this is, it's experimental. We're going to take these and we're going to, we'll filter them out, make sure we get all that sediment out, filter them out a little bit, and then do some blending tomorrow and then decide, okay, are we going to,
so we're blending bourbon with the port finish bourbon. Is that the next thing out of, like, a port finish is the next thing out of Golden Sheaf?
It's one of the next things. Yeah. We're doing some private blend batches with some, local, venues and, on-premise accounts here. So it's a whole new line that we're creating. It's, it's similar to a barrel pick program, right? Single barrel. But we don't, we're not producing, we're sourcing. So I always say we source amazing bourbons, and not limited to Kentucky and Indiana, but from all over the country. We handpick these, premium barrels and then blend them together with other premium barrels and make our top premium blends. So, we'll have a blend that'll come out from our custom, this is the way I got to give my pitch here. So you've done plenty of single barrel picks, right? And you get 1 through 5, whatever. And at most you can pick number 2, and then we want it at 110 proof or whatever, which is great. There's not to discount that, but pull that thread a little bit further and think about the hands-on, the craftsmanship, the creativity, designing a flavor profile for your customers, or for who, that group that's going to enjoy that whiskey, whether it's a bar or a retail store. And then you've got a story behind it, how you arrived at it. And so we're even going to market that. We put that on the label, the group that's been involved in creating the custom blend batch. And so, yeah, it'll be our custom blend batch series with a
really
similar
cool
label. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. There's a pride of ownership there. And it's, like I said, it tells a story. So it's your unique product that you've created, and you can talk about it. And, it's been pretty popular.
So you got port, and then is there, what else?
There's more. Yeah. So right now we have our port finish. We'll have those white port barrels here teed up pretty soon. We have a barley wine finish from a local brewery here. So they had a 10-year single barrel bourbon. I won't mention the name, but they acquired that barrel, and then they put some barley wine in it. Jukes brewery here in Nebraska. They put barley wine.
Do you drink barley wine? Like, is that? It's like Tuesday barley wine night. You have a massage steak and
we hand feed them
glass of barley wine.
I've had seasons of life where I indulged more in beer, but I'm not a everyday beer drinker. I'll sample at most. I'm typically either water or bourbon kind of person. That's it. No, but I do know a good barley wine, and these guys make an amazing barley wine, and it sat in that 10-year bourbon barrel for 14 months. And we did a little blending beforehand, experimented what that marriage might look like or taste like. And, it's unique, and it's bold, and it's delicious. So that one's, coming up pretty soon. We'll have that one ready to go. It'll be a small batch, it'll be a single barrel. So 150 to 200 bottles. And then we've got there's another local vineyard here that does a really good, cider, hard cider. And so we put, a wheat whiskey in a cider barrel that had cider in it for the last 14, 15 months. And it's so far so good.
Insert wheat and cider joke. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think it's awesome. I mean, I think you're doing two things that are really cool. Well, more than two, because I could go into your other products that I think you're doing some interesting stuff. But notably, one is not having any fear or reluctance to, try all these different things. I mean, look, some are going to work and a few might not.
Right.
But part of the fun of this whole thing is following these little adventures and seeing where you end up. And then the second thing that's super cool is you're partnering with a lot of kind of these local players in your space. I mean, you've got this heritage brand that is, that is the heart of the Omaha and heart of the history of whiskey in Omaha, partnering with other producers of spirits and beers and wines locally. I mean, it's kind of it's really cool. I think it's really, really cool.
Well, thanks. Yeah, it is a lot of fun. We've we're also doing the inverse of these as well. So, we've provided, our barrels, rye and bourbon barrels, and, they're now aging their products. So we've got a long list of the Nebraska Brewing Company just put a coconut porter in one of our bourbon barrels, freshly dumped bourbon barrels, jukes, all the previously mentioned, James Arthur vineyards, Glacial Till vineyard. Yeah. So it's cool. It's, and there's also value in that, right? Co-branding.
Sure.
So,
I mean, I'm going to throw one out here for you and, just take this, but they used to say that, a lot of the used bourbon barrels, of course, went to Scotland for aging Scotch. But there was a period there where I was told that the largest buyer of used bourbon barrels, were hot sauce companies. McElhenney, all of that stuff aged in used bourbon barrels. And then I heard that, correct me if I'm wrong here, or, our editor can go and check on this, but there were a lot of barrels going to, and I've seen it on, what are those Bizarre Foods with Andrew Zimmern, where they take those barrels and they do the fish sauce in them, so they put all those fish in there and then the whatever, and then age it. And back to your point, I mean, maybe you need to talk to some of these beef producers and let's wet age some beef in a bourbon barrel. That's a thing now, wet aged beef and you get one of those salt lined. I'm just throwing it out there.
That's a $1 billion idea right there. Yeah. You have to edit that out because unless we can jump on it.
Yeah. I mean,
sooner than later.
Wet aged beef in a wet aged Omaha barrel. Beef in a Golden Sheaf barrel. I think that's your ticket to like Elon Musk kind of money. That's all I'm saying.
I like it. Yeah.
So how many things will you get out before the end of the year? You have.
So we'll do the port. We'll do a custom blend batch for a large retailer and on-premise account here in town, and then a private batch that which is going to be our first private batch. So three by the end of the year.
Three by the end of the year. That's
scrambling to labels, TTB approval, all the things, targeting the week of Thanksgiving to get the first one out.
Okay.
Yep. And then the other two will follow right after. So we'll be busy. It's
a lot, but it's great. It's awesome.
It's yeah. It's fun. It's fun. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of creativity behind it, and, we're still in startup mode, right? So trying to be business smart, create all these repeatable processes so that, as we continue to do this in the future, it's just rinse and repeat, and not having to reinvent the wheel every time.
Now, what are you sipping on there? I keep seeing, are you just trying your own stuff? Is that you just all these samples, like all the blends that you're?
Yeah. So actually, you know what? I was sipping. This is pretty interesting here. It's pretty much gone, but I tried a honey barrel finish bourbon, Nelson Brothers. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Really, really good, especially if you're into honey and you like the sweeter side. But a number of things I did have, I think, pretty sure this is 2XO.
I've heard of it.
Yeah. Let's talk about 2XO and what's going on there aside from being on the road, and like what's next in the queue for 2XO when you're back in the rear able to work on your blends.
Yeah. It's funny. And I don't know how you handle yourself. I'm having done this type of thing, these market visits. It's always very interesting. They want to equip the salespeople, distributors, salespeople, whatever, with like all of this information. Like, I get to wherever I am, and the salesperson's like, yeah, I've printed out 10 copies of this 16-page deck, and we go, and it's like, great, just leave them in the car. And so what's been really exciting is that not only have we been sharing the Phoenix blend, this first blend with people, but I think the bigger part of what we're doing and what I'm trying to do is to talk about the future of 2XO and all the all the things we're doing. Not near as innovative and creative as what you're doing, but our team and really our team takes the crazy things that come through my head and out of my mouth, and these ideas, and we beat them up, and so it's really it's exciting to kind of now have a full deck, and we're in the mode of like putting these things together. And so the Phoenix blend, we worked on this. We actually tried to call that series the Blender series, but apparently Diageo has a trademark on Blender series that they use for Crown Royal. So that series is now going to be called the Icon series. And the Icon series, there will be one released in the spring each year and one released in the fall. And it's called the Icon series because instead of doing batch 1, batch 2, batch 3, batch 4, each batch will have its own story. It's kind of a story about where I am, what I'm going through, what I was thinking about when I created that. And so, the first one is the Phoenix blend. It's obviously got the Phoenix icon on the front label. When I get home from my trips, I will put together the second release in the Icon series, which will come out in somewhere around March or hopefully March. It's going to be called the Innkeeper's Blend. And in lieu of Phoenix on the front, it's actually going to have like a lantern sign of hospitality. And this is kind of a tribute to my family's century in the hospitality business. And so, that will be the next project I work on. In the summer, we will launch what we're calling the Gem of Kentucky series. And it's an all black bottle with this kind of matte black diamond on the front of it. Still 2XO Gem of Kentucky series. And these will be single barrels, all it would do somewhere between 65 and 75 single barrels. All the liquid will be double barreled, high rye bourbon, and really limited release, but that series is really cool. That will be kind of the top piece of our program. And then I'm also doing the work on what we're calling the Oak series, and the Oak series will be the base of our program, kind of our everyday entry. It won't be until the fall, and everything in that series will be double oaked liquid as well. The first and the ongoing and everyday edition of the Oak series will be with a heavily charred American oak, but I'm testing French oak. We're going to test, I'm testing cognac infused oak. I'm testing tequila infused oak. We're testing Mizunara oak. We're testing a Hungarian oak. So there will be pieces of the oak series that come in and out, with the basis of it being the American oak version of that. And so when we get out there and have the ability to get in front of people on the road, it's as much about, hey, this is the Phoenix blend and I'm super excited about this, I want you to try it, and it's also about, this is what's coming next. This is, this time next year, there will be 3 components to the 2XO program and talking about that. So I got a lot of work to do, in the next little bit, but, and I think it's what's kind of cool and why I enjoy, our conversations is, and I don't think there's a right way or wrong way. I think it's just, we kind of have a long range plan, and this is what it's going to look like, and this is how we're going to get there, and this is, and in some ways and in a lot of ways, I'm very envious of, you've kind of got, it's like, I don't know what we're gonna do next. Like, let's see what, it's like, you know what I mean? And like, that's really cool. And really, I don't mean to say that there's freedom is the wrong word, but there's a little more play there, I guess.
Yeah. Well, yes and no. So we have a couple different lines too. We'll have our, I hate to call it standard line because it's not standard. It's a unique blend from batch to batch, but that's your, batch 2 bourbon just came out, batch 1 rye. So that'll be, our standard label, I suppose. And then we have our private custom blend batch series that'll come out. We're releasing 2 of those. And then we have our finish series on top of that. So there's a cadence, some of it's being developed. But for example, batch 3 bourbon, I've been working on that for the standard line.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's absolutely, and so pipeline or, vision or roadmap we've created. Okay. What does that look like? And how does that jive with these other ones? But there will be a cadence, with the exception of the private, blend batches, because those are, there's a list,
right?
I won't tell you how many people are on the list so far, but
it's good.
It's fantastic. Yeah, it's a good problem to have. That's so yeah, we're sourcing all the liquid now.
I think it's awesome. I think what you're doing, and I love hearing about it. I think I've got FOMO a lot hearing about kind of the, it's the fun that you're having. I'm be honest with you. I was gonna go on a rant today. I had a rant all lined up. Like, I mean, a full on 4-alarm rant. But I think we'll save that.
All right.
So teaser, I'm just throw this out there. We can discuss, but I'd love maybe the next time we talk to talk about, reviews and things like that. And I think that would be a lot of fun and very interesting. You, as somebody who has a gajillion followers, and the way you review stuff and all this stuff. I had a rant. I was gonna lose my mind, but I'm having water and decided. So maybe we have that conversation next time. I know you got to run. This has been great. I'm excited for all the stuff you got going on.
Same here.
I can't wait to. Typically your timeline, you release, I get to taste it about 9 months later. So I don't know, next summer, I'm looking forward to this sport finish stuff. But this was fun. Good luck with everything. Good luck with blending tomorrow. And, I'm sure we'll catch up soon.
Sounds good. Yeah. Thank you. And good luck to you. I know you're back on the road here real soon and, knocking it out of the park. Yeah. I look forward to reviews. I got a million things going through my mind, so I'm anxious to hear your rant. So yeah, congrats again, Dixon 2XO, knocking it out of the park. Keep an eye out, folks. Look at the Dixon radar, see where he's at next. Maybe he's coming to a town near you, and you get to enjoy some 2XO with the man himself, Dixon Dedman. So cheers to you, brother. Till next time.
Yes,
guys,
sir.
don't forget to like, follow, share, all the things, comment, review,
subscribe.
That's pretty key.
Send a sample.
Send a sample. We'll talk about your stuff,
all that stuff.
All right. Cheers, everybody.